And now we are recording, so you are good to go, Erin.
All right. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. So everybody who's here is here. Good evening and welcome to the February 10th, 2021 Mercer Island Arts Council regular video meeting. I'm Erin Vivian, Chair of the Arts Council. In accordance with Proclamation 2028.11 and the Governor's Extended Safe Start Order, tonight's Arts Council meeting is using video conferencing technology provided by Zoom. The video of this meeting is being broadcast live via Zoom and will be uploaded to the city's YouTube channel later this evening. City staff, Sarah Bluvas, Ali Spitz, and Brian Daly are participating in tonight's meeting remotely. Other public audience members are listening to the meeting by telephone or via the internet. Welcome to all and thank you for joining us tonight. Board members, please ensure that your microphones are turned on for the roll call. Will staff please call the roll?
Okay, Erin Vivian.
Here.
Amy Barnes.
Here.
Anna Meha.
Here.
Eric Gordon.
Here.
Shishi Shakes. Suzanne Scone.
Here.
Gayleen Baden. Go.
Hi, okay, so I would just want to remind everyone to use the raise the hand feature when you want to ask a question, and we will do our best to recognize everyone in order. Tonight's agenda will not include in-person public appearances in accordance with Proclamation 2028.11 and the Governor's Extended Safe Start Order. However, individuals wishing to speak live during the appearances portion of our meeting may do so by telephone or using the Zoom teleconferencing application, provided they registered their desire to speak with the city staff by 4 p.m. today. I don't think anyone, did anyone register?
No, no public appearances registered for tonight.
Okay. So we now welcome Sarah to provide a staff update.
Okay, this is going to be quick so we can keep things moving, but I just wanted to share a couple of fun things. So hold on. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, can you all see this? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Hold on just a second. I just got set up with 2 monitors, so I'm still navigating the issues a little bit. Okay, can you see a presentation?
Yeah, I do.
Screen. I think we see your desktop.
See my desktop? Okay. Let's try this again.
Oh, we see it at the bottom of your desktop. The
Okay.
presentation showed up, but now your desktop is gone.
Okay. All right. I'm going to try sharing again. See how it goes. Okay. Okay. How about now? Awesome.
Yes.
All right. You know, still learning things even now. Okay. So just a couple of updates for you all tonight. I'm not sure if everyone totally knows about this project, and it's probably my fault for not sharing updates with you as things are progressing. But last year, kind of near the end of the year, we talked with some artists from MyVol, and I think Suzanne and maybe a couple other Arts Council members were involved, just trying to figure out a community arts project that we could do using up some of our For Culture funding that expired at the end of last year. And so we landed on this project called Island Lanterns. We distributed 100 lanterns to local artists and community members. And we asked them to bring the lanterns to life with their creativity. We didn't really give too many prompts, just wanted them to have fun and make a fun kind of creative project out of it. So we had a lot of local artists from Myval participate, a lot of families, both through the Girl Scout troop that we worked with and with the National Charity League and some other organizations. And on Sunday morning, the Girl Scouts went in and installed most of the lanterns. So you can see a picture of it at night here on the screen. We're still adding a couple of more lanterns. We'll probably, I think they're doing that tomorrow. And then the event officially opens to the public on Friday. So I just wanted to share this so you all know about it and to get you all up to speed. This is a great kind of collaboration across a variety of different organizations, both arts organizations, cultural organizations. Chinese New Year begins on Friday. So we worked with the Chinese Association on the island to kind of incorporate some ideas around the lanterns, you know, what do the lanterns mean in Chinese culture, and especially as part of that celebration. We also were able to work with some students from the high school on this project. So it really was kind of a fun and engaging way to use up some funding, but also just focus on kind of a low cost project, definitely made possible through partnerships. So officially opens on Friday. It'll be open through March 12th. And at that point, I think the lanterns will come down. We're trying to figure out maybe a second iteration of the program to keep them going, extend the life of the project. And then I believe the lights and the rest of the lights will be coming down around then as well. So get out to Mercerdale if you can, maybe before the snow comes, which we're supposedly having. So. And then I just wanted to give you another update or let you all know about some other arts happenings that are still happening around town center. The pictures in this aren't that great, but it's a really cool project. I don't know how many of you know Lisa Caruccio, one of the owners of Caruccio's in town center. Her business has been closed throughout the pandemic, but Lisa is a kind of skilled food artist and food photographer. So she's been staying creative during the pandemic and working on some projects. She just created some Venetian masks. They're 100% edible, made of hand-blown sugar and hand-painted sugar cookies that she made. And they're up now in the Caruccio's storefront window. So I encourage you all, you know, if you're down in town center, maybe start with Mercerdale and go see some of these other projects. But really exciting to see. Lisa had also done kind of a gingerbread display, similar type of project around the holidays, and she got a lot of really great feedback from the community. So it's really fun to see her using her creativity and artistry to create food art. And then also in town center at the Boyd Collection, Ann Ritze and I think a couple of volunteers are working on updating the temporary mural that's on the plywood panel at Herricksell, which the Boyd building is the cluster of buildings with Sano and some other businesses, Island Treats on 27th. And so they're working on adding an ox and some other elements also in celebration of Chinese New Year, because this year's the year of the ox. And then don't forget that Contrast Distance, the piece or the installation by George Lee, is still on view in the outdoor gallery. And we're getting a lot of great feedback about that project as well. George actually relocated down to California with his family a few weeks ago, but he is coming back and forth, still working on some projects in Seattle. So he'll be back up here in mid-spring to deinstall, and I'll keep you all posted on when that timing is happening. So those are my updates for now. Does anybody have any questions? Yeah, Erin?
I'm just wondering what we're doing to promote the Lanterns event. Like, are there going to be some social media posts that we can share and push out so we can help get the word out? Because that sounds really cool.
Yeah, definitely. So a few things. There will be an article in the Mercer Island Reporter next Wednesday, and they interviewed me and members of my vol as well as the Girl Scouts. The cool thing about that project is it's part of the Girl Scouts pursuit of their Silver Award, which is like the second highest award you can get as a Girl Scout. And personal note, I got my silver award, so I was very excited to work with all of them to make it happen. But yeah, so we'll have an article in the Reporter. There is kind of an event page on the city website that will be promoting more starting on Friday. I'm pretty sure the project went out in the MI Weekly tonight through Ross, and he's going to be promoting through some city channels as well. And then all of the different partners, that's part of the cool thing about working with so many different groups, is that we're, you know, having them push it out, getting them all of the materials, and then we'll also do kind of another blast out with information to your Arts Council list, email list, which we used to use for the gallery projects or gallery exhibits. And then we have like a list of other community organizations. So contacts at like the Community Fund and YTN and the J and all of that. So I'm also working on printing some signage to go out kind of like on an A board right out there at the installation. So people who are curious about it can learn a little more and get directed to the website.
Awesome.
Anybody else? Okay, thanks. Oh, Suzanne.
Do you think, I mean, I'm willing to post it on Nextdoor. Is that something we should or shouldn't do, or?
I definitely suggest posting it on Nextdoor. I shared some information with Carol Whitaker, who is a community member artist from my ball. She's been kind of my main partner in this project, and Carol was going to push it out through Nextdoor as well. I personally think Nextdoor works better when it comes from like you all, the residents, rather than under our city account and that kind of thing. So if there is anyone who doesn't mind also sharing about it, I think that would be really great. Great.
I nominate Suzanne.
I'll give it a try.
Okay, I will get you some information, succinct information.
I took little screenshots of sections of what you had up there, so I can try that. If it doesn't work, I'll let you know.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Suzanne.
All right. Any other questions for Sarah? Okay, I see no hands. That all sounds lovely, Sarah. Thank you for all that work. Okay, well, I guess this is our first item of regular business, is to hear from city staff about the availability of the city attorney to provide informal opinions regarding matters related to the Code of Ethics. We welcome Allie Speets. Am I pronouncing your last name correctly?
You got it right.
Okay, thank you, sorry. Chief of Administration, to present this overview. Welcome.
Thank you. Hello, Arts Council members. I will keep this brief. I just have a quick PowerPoint here that I want to share. Can you give me access, Sarah? There we go. Okay, can you all see my PowerPoint? Yep, okay. So what we'd like to do today, or what I'd like to do today, is just give you a very abbreviated training on the Code of Ethics. Of course, this is, let's see here, if I can get it to move. There we go. So a little bit of background information on our Code of Ethics. We adopted it originally in 2018, and then we did some amendments in 2019. So the basic point of it is that officials need to comply with the laws and policies that affect the operation of government. You need to be impartial, fair in your judgment and your actions, and then that your office should be used for the public good and not for personal gain. and that public deliberations and processes need to be conducted in an open, unless of course it's legally confidential environment and aspect, and have a strong aspect of respect and civility during those deliberations. Once we had kind of spent a little time with the Code of Ethics, we amended it and adopted changes in 2019 that improved the process for responding to the complaint, and then added guidance on the acceptance of gifts and the conflict of interest, representation of third parties, and then of course misuse of the public position and resources. For all of you that are interested in reading this, it is Mercer Island City Code 2.60. And then at the January 29th, 2021 council meeting, the council asked staff to update the Code of Ethics for officials. As some of you may know, we had a recent Code of Ethics violation complaint filed, and it was a contentious issue, and the council's realized that there's some changes to the code they'd like to make in order to streamline the process and have everybody that's involved know their roles and understand what's going to happen. One of the things they did ask to do was that staff email all boards and commission members to let them know of the option to seek an informal opinion from the city attorney on the applicability of the Code of Ethics to hypothetical situations. What this means is if you have a question about whether or not an action you have taken or an action you are considering taking might be a violation of the Code of Ethics, you can contact our city attorney, B.O. Park, and he can provide you an informal opinion about that hypothetical situation. The other thing that they asked us to do was to attend all board and commission meetings to let you know about this informal opinion option, which this is what I'm doing tonight. And then the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to develop and deliver training to all boards and commission members on the revised Code of Ethics once that gets adopted by the council. We'd like to get it done by April 2021, but we may not actually have the revised code done until April. So we're looking at May or June for board and commission training. The informal opinion from the city attorney, you would email B.O. Park, our city attorney, and submit your inquiry in writing. The city attorney will then follow up with you if he needs additional information to give you his opinion and advise you on the matter. He may or may not forward your inquiry to the city's ethics officer for an advisory opinion. So I just want to make a difference between informal opinion and advisory opinion. Informal is our city attorney giving you his advice, and a advisory opinion would be our ethics officer, who is an outside attorney. They would give you a more formal opinion. And then the thing we do want to recognize is that your communication seeking the informal opinion to the city attorney may not be protected under attorney-client privilege. A lot of times it is, but there are many times when it's not. So just a heads up for you. Next steps are working on the Code of Ethics. So if you have any suggestions or comments, you can email me, and I'd be happy to take those as we start revising our Code of Ethics. And then we will start talking with the council about our revisions in early March, so at the March 2nd meeting. And then, of course, as I said earlier, we will provide training to all of you once we have the revised Code of Ethics adopted. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing, but I want to be available to answer any questions that any of you have about this. Wonderful. That was easy. You know, I think ethics can be scary. I think our code can be scary. When you're trying to read it, it sounds very legal and isn't very friendly. But we are here to help you understand it. And of course, if there is a conflict with staff helping you with something, we will get you to an outside person to get an answer. So if you do have suggestions for revisions to our ethics code, I'd be more than happy to take those. I'd love to hear any suggestions that you have to improve it. Without any other questions, I'm going to sign off.
Thanks so much, Allie.
You're welcome, you guys. Have a great night.
You too.
Thank you for all you do.
Thanks. Okay. Moving on, our second item of regular business is to review and consider approving the December 9th, 2020 and January 28th, 2021 minutes. Board members may have a motion to approve the minutes for December 9th, 2020 and January 28th, 2021 meetings.
So moved. This is Amy.
Thanks, Amy.
I'll second it.
Who said that?
Suzanne seconded. it.
Thanks, Suzanne. Suzanne seconded. So there is a motion by Amy and a second by Suzanne. Staff, please conduct a roll call vote. No discussion, correct? Everyone's cool?
We're good.
Okay.
Okay, Amy Barnes,
Approve.
Ani Meha,
Approve.
right? Eric Gordon,
Approve.
okay. She Shakes is absent. Suzanne Scone,
I approve.
Galen Baden is absent, and Erin Vivian.
Approve.
All right.
Sounds like the motion passes and the minutes are approved. Okay, our third item of regular business is an update on the Recreation, MICEC, and Arts Reset Planning Project from Sarah and Ryan, Recreation and Operations Manager.
Okay.
Welcome, Ryan.
Okay. Got another PowerPoint. Let me share. Okay, can you all see the thumbs up? Perfect. Okay, so Ryan and I wanted to take a little time tonight to just kind of check in on the reset planning process, which we kicked off at the January 28th meeting with you all. You know, I've had a chance to touch base with a few of you since that meeting and kind of heard concerns and, you know, the challenges that many faced in participating in that initial process. And we just want to acknowledge that it was challenging and, you know, we really want to move forward in a way that is productive, both with you all who are all volunteers, volunteering your time in this process, but also for us as staff as we're continuing in the planning work and working kind of toward a deadline of presenting recommendations to City Council in the next month or so, month and a half. So Ryan, you all may remember Ryan from his various roles in the Parks and Recreation Department. Ryan has been one of the lead staff members working on the reset plan as a whole. He has been primarily focused on the rec and community center side and working with the Parks and Rec Commission, but thought it would be helpful for him to be here tonight as well to kind of answer any questions, share a little bit more about how the process is going on the Parks and Rec Commission side to maybe kind of clear up some of the questions that you have or just help you all maybe visualize the end goal in a different way. So we're just going to spend a little bit of time on that right now. If you have questions, you know, feel free to send them to us right now, or, well, I guess raise your hand. We can also answer questions at the end, but if you have a question, please feel free to jump in. And so some of these slides might look familiar to you all if you had a chance to watch Emily Moon's video presentation that she recorded since we weren't able to have the January 13th meeting. So some of this is just kind of reiterating what this process is all about. We're calling this a reset rather than a recovery plan because, you know, with the Parks and Recreation Department essentially being reduced to zero, we have an opportunity to kind of build back up in a lot of different ways. And so this is really an opportunity to look at what we were doing across the recreation, community center, and arts programming parts of the department, and maybe, figure out how we can do things better. That's really a primary goal, I think, is coming back stronger than we were pre-pandemic. It's just an opportunity to refine the focus too. I mean, I don't know how much you all may have heard this from us pre-pandemic, but we had so many programs going on, so much activity at the community center, all sorts of different directions that we as staff were being pulled in. And this actually gave us an opportunity to finally sit down and focus and kind of look at what we'd done before and figure out how we can improve going forward. And that's really what we're focusing on, right? Both the short term, I heard in the last meeting that there's a lot of interest in figuring out what you all can do now to support the community. But also the long term, post pandemic, what does everything look like for the larger Parks and Recreation Department? But what does it look like for the Arts Council? And, how do you start building back and growing from there? It's really important to note that these plans that we're talking about need to remain flexible. So, I think maybe where some of us were getting caught up in the last meeting is just this idea of something being set in stone. But really, in the same way that, with the restart plan or the safe start plan for the state, and the governor kind of saying, it's not a light switch, you can't just turn it off and on. We really have to be prepared within the conditions that the pandemic has put us in to remain flexible and think about things from more of a phased perspective. I just wanted to highlight, where we really need you all to participate. I think it's really critical. We may have not done a very good job stressing this in the last meeting, but this process is really critical, to make sure that we can maintain or bring back arts programming, but also thinking about all of the other arts related work that you all do, policies, maintaining and protecting the public art collection, being leaders in terms of the arts community, both on the island and in the region. So we really do need your help to shape these plans. And I guess the one big thing I heard, again, in the last meeting was really more of an interest on y'all's part to be more engaged in the immediate action plan portion, and maybe have more of an advisory or response element to kind of the long-term plan. So Emily and I are working on kind of ways to bring back the process on February 23rd, the next time we meet to discuss, and really looking more at kind of those immediate action plan items to kind of move you all forward in the next step of the process. I'll let Ryan talk a little bit about the COVID framework, because he, I know, was really involved in the beginning of the process with really establishing what our guiding principles were going to be. So Ryan, do you mind just touching on this for a second?
Absolutely. Again, Ryan Daly, Operations and Transition Team Manager. I think that's my 12th title in the last 2 years. So excited to be back here talking actually with the Arts Council. It feels like forever that we've been able to have a conversation. So regarding the framework, and these were really sort of guiding principles that we created in conjunction with Emily Moon, our consultant, to really guide the process as we move forward. Obviously, the health and safety of the community is paramount here. That's the most important thing, and that's really guided all of our decisions up to this point. Going back an entire year, that's how things started out. We really focused on that to begin with, and the city of Mercer Island, I should say, was very quick to act, which I think was a real benefit. Speaking about slowing down the spread and things like that, we've been very slow to react to bring back programming or open up facilities or do these things that maybe other areas are doing. We're just not in a position to do it safely right now. We have some resource challenges. We also know that things are in flux. And so it would be very difficult for us to do that. So to slow down the spread, we're taking a very diligent approach to that. Utilizing our city resources, prioritizing and assisting our partners. This is something, specifically Sarah has been working with local businesses. We've been doing this as a Parks and Recreation department with the school district, as well as the Boys and Girls Club, the JCC, various other partners that we have within the community. The ensuring the caretaking of city assets. This was our foremost, maybe right behind health and safety. This was our next biggest challenge this summer. We reduced our staffing significantly. I don't even have the numbers off the top of my head, but significantly reduced our staffing. But the focus we maintained on a maintenance standpoint was to maintain those assets. That was public art. Those were our parks. Obviously, we weren't mowing the grass because the grass seems to just grow right back. So we were able to kind of sit that one out, reduce our watering, but you saw weeds and you saw other things popping up. We did primarily focus on the community center, maintaining that, making sure that that remained operational or I shouldn't say operational, but had the ability to become operational when that need arose. Taking steps and having the flexibility with the data we have on hand. That's just a general framework aspect I think that we're utilizing. We know, and this happened through the beginning of the pandemic, and Sarah and I probably will joke with each other every week, every day. Usually it was Friday at like 4:49 p.m. we had a change that was going to occur. We had something that was going to change the way we operated as a city, and so that was really critical that we maintain that flexibility, and that'll be something that we maintain as we move forward. Our commitment to communicate with the city council, that's been outstanding. If there's a positive outcome that comes out of this really horrible pandemic, it's been our ability to communicate with the city council, as well as really tie in more departments. And I think that from an arts council standpoint, that's going to be a benefit as we move forward, because now this Parks and Recreation department is all under Public Works, which has the capital project managers. It has this larger pool of resources that I think can be a benefit as we move forward. So that's something to think about as we're crafting these action plans to move forward with. The opportunity to examine doing things differently, innovate, work smarter, and reset. I'll just say, and I'll speak more so on the Parks and Recreation Commission side and the overall Recreation Department or division. That's exactly what we're doing. I can commit to you that we're not coming back in the same manner that we were operating before. We're taking an outlook as this opportunity to make changes to meet the larger needs of the community. I would encourage the Arts Council to kind of lean into that opportunity to evaluate. I think early 80s, I believe, is when the Arts Council came to be. That's a long time, and there's an opportunity here to take a look at how can we best meet those needs of the community, specifically with arts, ensuring, and I can't highlight this enough, that as we start to integrate these plans together with the Parks and Recreation Commission and the Recreation Division, making sure that those components marry into each other and make sure that we're having this consistent flow as opposed to being separate, maybe separate divisions or something like that. So really having that opportunity. As I speak about the opportunity, you probably tell I get excited about it because I've been in some situations on the Parks and Rec side that we've done things a certain way because we've always done it that way. And that's like the worst thing we can ever say. And so right now we have an opportunity to really evaluate our community need especially coming off a pandemic that's really changed a lot of people's vision or needs from Parks and Recreation. So, Sarah, I'm sorry I probably took way longer on that slide than you wanted me to, but I'm excited to be back.
It's all good, Ryan. I'm going to call on you in another second. So, you know, we've kind of mentioned a fair amount, and I'm sorry if it sounds like we're broken records, but we just want to make sure that kind of everyone is on the same page and has the same information. But there's really kind of two sides to this planning process: the immediate action plan and then the longer term action plan. And I think where we were kind of getting stuck in the last meeting was really thinking about some of the bigger things that relate to the longer term action plan. The idea of, you know, if we have to do a phased approach for this plan, what is it critical to bring back online first? But knowing that, you know, that stage will ultimately lead to kind of the longer term objective, which we still need to identify a little bit. And I think with the Arts Council, you know, you all already had done so much work in some of this arena. You had gone through a whole process to do the comp plan and done the whole process to update your bylaws. So, you know, maybe unlike our recreation department, or maybe unlike the Parks and Rec Commission, you all already have a lot of process and policy in place. And I don't think we took that enough into account in the last meeting. You know, some of that may have to evolve to some extent because we are in a new reality. We need to be COVID responsive in particular. But that doesn't mean that we want you to recreate the wheel. And, you know, that's not what we're intending with this at all. It's more just, you know, how do we create kind of a phased approach to get to that end goal of where you want to be post-pandemic. So I say all that to say, whereas the last meeting kind of focused maybe more on those big term or big picture objectives, the next meeting on February 23rd will focus probably a little more heavily on the immediate action plan piece. And I thought it would be helpful. So, you know, Ryan's been working with the Parks and Rec Commission. They're a little bit ahead on this process, in part because I think there was more work to do there. So Ryan, do you mind just kind of going through a little bit the immediate action plan that you all have landed on for recreation and the community center?
Yeah, so Ryan Daly, Operations Transition Team Manager. I know, can I get a shorter title? Jeez. I wish I had a say in that. But so just backing up for the recreation side of the house, I'll say, to Sarah's point, the Arts Council is in a better position because you have your priorities, your essential functions, you're a little more dialed in there. I would say in this process right now, my encouragement would be to confirm those items. Given the changes that we've experienced, confirm what those are, and then we'll work forward over the next couple of meetings of prioritizing the phased approach in the recovery. And so as it applies to the recreation division, we pretty much knew that our ultimate goal was going to be to bring on summer camp programming in summer 2021. One, we established that there's a need for it. We know that there's community members who need that call it childcare element. There's a lot of parents need to kick their kids outdoors and get them moving. I see Aaron smiling. My kids have drove me crazy. I love my kids, but I'd rather have them outside. So we
remember
we
you're being recorded.
That's right. My wife's probably watching. But there was a need. So that's where we were. But what we had to do from a recreation standpoint was to go backwards and make sure that we understood the model that was going to work for us. In the past, we had an extremely heavily run program offering through city staff. We knew that wasn't going to be an option as we move forward. So we altered our program offerings from previous years, and we focused on the contractor-led programs. Knowing that, we worked backwards to really affirm what our participation levels were in the past, what our benefits of the programs were. There was a long conversation, I'll say, within staff between what's a community benefit, which ultimately is our goal to benefit the community, versus what's just a specific individual benefit. So we had to really balance those out in our program offerings, and that led to the process of getting to the scope of programs that we're planning on bringing forward this summer. So the other aspect is identifying resources. We just don't have any. I mean, that's the best way I can share it. Is we eliminated basically all of our recreation positions all the way up to the director level. And so we have to rebuild what all of that looks like from scratch, which when I say it, it sounds terrible, but the real opportunity lies in that community benefit portion. We're putting more resources toward making sure that that community benefit is there, as opposed to focusing on maybe some of those programs that were very individualized. So that's been a real focus for our team. What we're going to be coming forward with at the next city council meeting will be a position ask that will help us to implement these programs. The reason I bring that example forward is I think that's probably something that the Arts Council will need to contemplate based on what your immediate action plan turns out to be. If it's mostly music in the park, or if maybe there's some sort of a collaboration between the recreation division and the Arts Council on how that moves forward. And that's something that we'll shake out, but there will be resources that we need to start allocating or thinking about as we move forward with that immediate action plan. What we've worked backwards on from the Parks and Recreation Commission standpoint in the Recreation Division is really hammering down on the amount of specifically staff time that goes into some of our programs. It's more than that one staff member a lot of times, which shamefully I didn't realize necessarily the impact of all of the programs that I was running, how they affected the department director, how they affected the city attorney, how they affected HR department. So there is a large workload that we have to work through there. So in this, to kind of conclude, the short term is maybe not as short as we'd like it to be. It's probably closer to 4 months out, and then you have your long term, which goes out a little bit farther to maybe the end of the year. So as we're rebuilding these programs, I would like to look toward a 2-year phased approach. That would be sort of my recommendation, which allows us to go back to City Council with priorities and with a phased approach to ask for those resources. So I don't know if there's any questions. If you have any specific questions on how we've worked through that with the Parks Commission, I will just say that it's been, to those commissioners' credit, way too many hours on the phone with me and just talking through a lot of the different programming options and whatnot. And the summer camp programs is the only direct program we've talked about. We haven't gone into the deeper aspects of these different fitness classes or these different services. We've stayed very high level thus far.
Thanks, Ryan. That was really helpful. I'm looking at I can't see everyone, whatever view we're on. So I don't know if anyone's raising their actual hand to have questions.
Here, I will stop sharing for right now in case that way you can see everybody, in case anybody has questions right now for Ryan or me.
I would just add, I feel like it's helpful if I share the challenges we encountered, and I'll share maybe more personally what the challenges I felt were. I've always had this vision that everything is the highest priority, and that's just how it kind of feels. Like this program is always, they're all the same. They're all the most important. And, you know, really drilling down to those 3 or 4 elements that are really important for the Parks and Rec Commission or for the recreation side. For us, it was cost recovery. It was the policies around the programs we offer and why. That wasn't something our department had in the past. So we're actually having to create that right now. I think the Arts Council's ahead of that situation and has an ability to kind of jump forward and be able to say, okay, these are kind of our 3 things we got to get done this year. It's got to happen. These are the resources we're going to need to move forward. So that, for me personally, that was a real challenge of saying, well, this one's not quite as important as this one. So
Yeah.
I can feel some of the challenge there.
I appreciate that, Ryan, because I feel like part of what sort of got us hung up in our last planning meeting was that we were sort of taking the approach maybe that Parks and Rec in general was taking and applying it to the Arts Council, whereas maybe we didn't need to go through some of the steps that you all did. I had a question about what, like, you know, in pre-pandemic times, what percentage, if you just want to look at like budget scope of the Parks and Rec department was the Arts Council? I mean, we were a very small percentage of just budget, right? Like tiny. I mean, the budget that we had.
Small, but not well, it depends on how you look at it. So the actual, maybe call it a supply budget and whatnot, was very small. The staffing resource budget was very large compared to maybe the programming models or something like that, considering off the top of my head, I can't remember Diane Mortenson's change in title, community programs manager or something, but that plus the arts coordinator and the changes we were working there, that was probably the larger resource that was maybe unseen, and maybe the most important, if I was going to put something out there.
Okay, that's a good piece of information to remember. I think that I guess my thinking was just that where we're starting from is sort of minor compared to the bigger picture of Parks and Rec. So we don't maybe need to like spend the time debating our like principles and sort of that background foundational stuff. We're sort of like, we have that, now let's just look at what are the priorities. I liked, you know, looking at the community versus individual benefit. I really like that idea. And to say, hey, you know, what can we do with limited staff resources and what would be the most important? So I think starting from those questions would be helpful.
I think one of the important things would be to affirm that information you have before. So even if it's just not discussing it necessarily, but just checking it off the list to reaffirm. And that's where we're going right now with the Parks and Rec side is we're going to be asking questions. What has the pandemic changed? I mean, obviously our resource levels, but is it changing the way people are recreating? Should we be looking at things differently in that manner? Some things we're saying, yeah, we don't need to change this. That's all the same, but some things are pretty grand.
Yeah, and I think our visioning is a lot broader, right? Like our benefit to the community is more of an aspirational supporting type vision. And that I think is going to be more important than it ever was, in my opinion, as far as supporting people's mental health and like, you know, general well-being. So thank you. No, that was very helpful. Does anyone else have any other questions or comments? Okay, so I'll stop talking then. Thank you, Ryan.
So just one kind of thing to close out this piece, and we can move on to more fun things related to public art. So in your packet tonight, you all had a very brief survey that has, you know, 4 questions. I also shared a link that you can submit it via Google form if you would prefer to do that, and I'll send it out again to everyone tonight. we're just asking, between now and next Wednesday, just sit down and think about those questions. It doesn't have to be, perfect, set in stone, anything like that. Just take some time and then get the responses back to me, and that will help Emily and me put together a more productive, more engaging conversation for the 23rd. A lot of what Ryan's talking about in terms of like resource allocation and all of that kind of thing, I don't expect you all to know that. I don't expect you all to know, okay, I want to do I think it's important that we do this for the community in 2021. And I know we need all these things. What your responses will tell me is like, a consensus. If you all are sort of leaning towards one idea, one asset, one project, one way to help the community, then we can focus on, okay, if they all want to do that, they think that will bring the most benefit to the community within the limited resources, then we'll start going through and figuring out what those resources actually are. So on the 23rd, kind of in addition to getting more ideas and discussing some of that immediate action item element, Emily and we might have a couple of like project proposals, not to say that it's set in stone, but really as maybe a more tangible way to say, okay, you want to do drive through concert in the park? Here's everything, like, here's how we would need to go about it, and try to get to some of those more specific plan related asks. So when we go back to city council soon, you're not just saying, hey, council, we want to do art stuff. And council's like, what's art stuff? You can say, we want to do this specifically. We think it'll take these resources, and we think it will have this community benefit. Doesn't have to be perfect or very, very, very specific. We don't need, pages and pages of community surveyed data right now. We're really just trying to say, like, this is what we think. This is where we're trying to get to. And oh, hey, by the way, things might shift depending on what's going on with the pandemic or other resources and that kind of thing. So pay attention. Yeah, take the survey. If you have questions, I'm happy, to hop on the phone. I know I've talked to a few of you over the phone, and I'm still trying to make the rounds to get to everybody between now and the 23rd, but please, feel free to ask me questions. I'm sure Ryan would be happy to take your emails as well. So
awesome. So Suzanne.
Yeah, seriously, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm happy to share. The experiences we've had were a couple months ahead maybe of where the Arts Council is experiencing, and even if it's just picking my brain on where things might start to fit together, or I don't know. It's exciting to be back in Parks and Rec. So so please reach out if you have questions.
Thanks, Ryan. Suzanne, do you have a question or comment?
Oh, you're on mute.
There you go.
There you go.
My thing wouldn't work. Yeah, I have a question, Ryan. Is our capital expenditures like new sidewalks and the docks, is that under Public Works?
Currently, yes, it is. It's the dock project. The Parks and Recreation Commission is assisting with that, but those all do fall under everything basically operational falls under Public Works at this point.
All right, so my question about that is, when commercial projects go through the city, there's the design commission that weighs in as an advisory council and suggests, oh, maybe you could add some more windows, or maybe we don't want Greek styling or something like that. It seems to me like the Arts Council would be a good fit to look at just with a community view on capital projects. For example, in the sculpture garden, I find it very frustrating that there's no electrical outlets. I just was in
You and I
I was
both.
at the Botanical Gardens in Bellevue today, and just a manhole cover that was, you know, quite a really cool manhole cover,
Yeah.
you know? And then there were other ones that were just plastic PVC pipe. So, you know, with very little, I mean, I'm not saying that we want to spend a bunch of the city's money, but you know, if we could say, hey, maybe don't put the wall there because that's a fabulous view of Mount Rainier. Maybe we'll put a bench there and move the wall over there. So I guess I'm just putting a pitch in to like you and Sarah both to say, you know, why can't we pass our capital projects through this board and commission? Just give them a chance.
Can I jump in and add on to that, Suzanne?
Go ahead, I'm done.
So that's something that for years, at least, Sarah, right, that I've mentioned we need to do some updating in our code. If we could ever get to it, that actually mentions Arts Council in some of those codes so that it's like actually codified that we are a part of. I think informally in the past, we have been brought in to get our council on certain projects. But and I think it's gotten better in the past few years because I think historically there's been some miscommunication. But what's interesting, and I just wanted to bring this up, I was going to talk about it later, but last week the mayor called a meeting of all the chairs of all the commissions. And it was really nice to have that time to sort of have face-to-face and meet and talk about how all the boards and commissions can in the future work together better and have more of that intercommunication better. So so that was discussed, and hopefully that will continue to move forward. Some of the other things that we discussed at that meeting were commission meetings in general. And these are the things that I spoke on behalf of us just from the feelings I got, but if anyone wants to actually bring some opinions to me, that would be very helpful. Things like, as we move forward beyond the pandemic, do we want to still do Zoom meetings instead of in-person meetings? Or half and half, or always meet in person? Things like that. And how can we best collaborate better with all the commissions? And how can we better collaborate with city council? Should we designate people to attend city council meetings from our commissions? Should we press our city council members besides our liaison to come join our meetings to keep the communication flowing? Things like this, things like these were discussed. So I just wanted to let everyone know during this meeting that if anyone has any ideas or thoughts in that regard, to bring them to me or Sarah so that we can continue that conversation, because those meetings with the commission chairs and the mayor, I think, may continue to happen. So that was another thing. But thank you for bringing that up, Suzanne, because I think this all ties in together with that idea as well.
I think that I guess my curiosity would be, what would be the next step? Should we, as a commission, maybe write a letter to the council and say, you know, I'm not trying to make work or for anybody or try to take anyone's power away or anything. I'm just saying, just a second set of eyes that are familiar with the physicalness of Mercer Island to look at these things.
So I think that, just really quick, Sarah, well, while you guys were talking, I wrote down a little list of like what I think our plan could be, like broken down really simply and quickly, is that we need to talk about our what are our assets as the Arts Council, and how do we manage those going forward better? And then any projects we want to do, anything with the 1% or events, and just like pare those down to the bare essentials. What, you know, if we can even do an event or not. Let's talk about the assets, the projects, how we can support the community. And then my fourth thing is policies, because we have a number of policies that we have been meaning to update over the years. Like, do we even want to touch 1%? I don't know, but we definitely need some like updating of our public art commissioning and acquisition, and code updates is one of mine regarding design commission. So I think like our plan going forward could just be these like 4 things, and underneath the policies, we wrap in this like better collaboration between the commissions and just make that a bullet point in our plan. Like, we would like to update code. I don't know if we can do that as the Arts Council. Like, that has to go in, I think, through, gosh, what would that be, the Planning Commission or whatever job Evan used to have? But
yeah, there's definitely a process. So what I will say to all of that, and this ties into what you're asking, Suzanne, for like next steps, right? I don't think that the next step for something like this is to write a letter to City Council and ask for that kind of permission. I think the next step is, okay, we identified that the Arts Council can play a stronger role, more collaborative role across commission work, across capital project work. That's our end goal that we want to get to in the long range. 2 years from now, what will it look like? In 2 years, maybe we want it to look like that the code says XYZ for capital projects going through the Arts Council and that kind of thing. And
this is a good opportunity to have that in writing in this plan that we're about to develop. This is exciting. Okay,
exactly. So that's kind of what we're trying to do, right? There are things that you can work on right now. You're doing it in this conversation, identifying the need for that kind of collaboration, identifying the need for the Arts Council to have more of a foot in the door with capital project conversations and all of that. And so what we're trying to do is build the steps to that ultimate goal and identify what resources you need at everyone. So maybe like, if you're going to focus on policy work, the resource may be like a staff person who can devote 25% of their time to working with you on the policy work or something like that. So I feel like this conversation is really good. I feel better about this now than I did on the 28th. So hopefully you all feel good about it, and just, again, kind of focus on that survey. If it's easier, like Erin, I like what you're doing, kind of writing down these big high level themes. I think that's a great idea. If it's easier for individuals to think about this in that way, then do that. And we'll come back together on the 23rd and hopefully continue this conversation and start thinking, okay, if the code update is where we want to get to in 2 years, what do we need to spend 2021 doing in order to help us get closer to that goal? So
that's awesome. Thank you, Sarah and Ryan. I think that was really helpful. I mean, it was for me. So if no one has like super pressing things to ask, I feel bad because we have some guests that have been waiting so patiently for our next item. So I think I'm going to just move on, but thank you guys. That was very helpful. Okay.
Thank you.
thanks, Ryan.
Okay, so our third item of regular business is an update on the recreation. I'm sorry, that was what we just did. Cross that out. Our fourth item of regular business. For this item, we are joined by, this is very exciting, our Mercer Island High School students that are involved in student groups on race relations. The students are here to share an idea for a community art project to inspire unity and connection. A short description of the project idea was included in your agenda packet. So welcome to Jacob Grossoff and Gracie Galvin and Elsa Lanstot. I'm pronouncing these names terribly, but do y'all want to take it away? Welcome.
Yeah, I can introduce us. Hi, my name is Gracie. We're all seniors at Mercer Island High School, and we started a club called Student Groups on Race Relation, also known as SCORE. And we've been working with the middle school club called JUST, and we decided that we kind of wanted to do a project that would unify the high school and the middle school and potentially elementary schools as well. And we thought a simple idea would be a mural that students could work on, and we could get help from the art club and helps from other clubs kind of around the high school and middle school. And so we come today kind of looking for advice. We have some basic ideas of how things would work. We're not sure about funding, and we're also not really sure about a location. So it would be great to hear more from you guys. I'm not sure, Jacob, you can kind of fill in on our basic ideas for cost and a location, if you want to.
Well, yeah, so, we want it to kind of be like a full, like whole community endeavor, kind of like you said at the beginning, unifying thing. As far as locations, the reason we're talking to you is because we thought it would be really cool to have it in, a public area like a park. And, there are a lot of um concrete areas that are fairly blank at the moment that we thought would respond nicely to this sort of thing. And so a few ideas that we talked about with our meeting with Sarah were at Luther Burbank, the concrete blocks that used to be ends, and then the wall at Aubrey Davis Park behind the basketball courts. But obviously, they all have their strengths and weaknesses as far as being able to execute there, and talk to you guys about other ideas for that. And so, we're fairly new at making calls, so we need to consult with you guys on a realistic cost estimate on potentially funds.
And I guess that I'll state we're also open to the option that this won't work because we're seniors. We kind of are hoping this project would be done either at the end of the school year, or I think we're willing to work into summer as well. But we understand if it's not possible for that to happen, and we're willing to like move this. We could try to do it on school property or something else. So we just kind of want overall advice, I guess.
To see what would be realistic.
Yeah, and a possible line.
Well, I just have a couple of thoughts off the cuff. Have you all thought about talking with the PTA and trying to collaborate with PTA and Arts Council, like getting more community groups in to sort of, I guess, gather more volunteers, more opportunities, and more resources?
We have a relationship with the PTA, and so that would be definitely something we're open to. We haven't talked to them about this specific project yet because we kind of wanted to get an idea of how much it would cost and the logistics, especially with the pandemic of having multiple groups work on it and all of that. But we definitely want to get as much of the community involved as possible if we can, because we thought it would be cool to kind of have the community unite over in our project.
I think it's a fabulous idea. Does anyone else have thoughts or questions? Go ahead.
Yeah, I actually loved it. I read the document that Sarah included, and I have always been fan of murals, so totally supportive of it. And I agree with Erin. Get involved, with all the like PTSA and other local organizations to make sure that you have the expertise. And definitely, I would love for it to be, a public art rather than, being displayed in school, because then I won't have to drive all the way to the school to see it. So I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I also agree with that, because I think there are some great opportunities that we can identify, and you guys have already done that. But there's a lot of options. There's more options, range of options on the island that go beyond just school property.
And just, Arts Council members, so you all know, I connected with Jacob, Elsa, Gracie, and their, I guess in school you don't call them colleagues, your classmate, Emily, last week, and kind of gave them an overview of how our public art process works and, all of that. So knowing that you all as seniors want to move something forward, one idea that I've been thinking about is maybe you kind of set this up and put it in motion. So maybe you work with work with us or work with other community groups to kind of identify like what the parameters of the project will be. Maybe an end goal is that you've like selected a location or, you know, specific themes that you want the panels to be and that kind of thing. And then it carries forward eventually, you know, from year to year with the eventual completion of the mural. Just kind of for context too, like the mural on, I think we talked about it last week, the mural at the off-ramp on West Mercer Way, you know, that project took I think 4 years from start to completion. We had to jump through some hoops just based on like that property technically being owned by WashDOT and that kind of thing. So there were extra layers of it. But these projects can take a little bit of time. So if there's a way to maybe think about it as a legacy project that you all start and maybe, you know, future senior classes help see it through. I also think I shared kind of ideas about maybe temporary pieces or things that you could create now and then install later. So, you know, we have a temporary mural in town center right now. That was a collaboration between a business and local artists just by up on some plywood that's covering some construction. So you could do something as simple, something like that with plywood and supplies and, you know, everybody get out in the parks a couple of days on nice days and create the murals. And that could be a great community project. There's also kind of more long lasting ways to do murals that you sort of create in one spot and then install. There's a material called Polytab that's really great for that kind of work. So there's definitely, you know, it doesn't have to be like an all or nothing kind of thing. It can be a project that, you know, you sort of work up towards and, you know, maybe in 4 years you all come back from whatever like cool jobs you have and you see your mural finally installed or something like that.
Sarah, did you also talk to them about the mosaic mural in Luther Burbank and how that was a community-based project as well and very collaborative?
Yep.
So that could be a model for how to like get people together as well.
Like, are you guys in touch with any artist who specializes in murals? Because if you're not, then I can refer you to a person.
We are not, but that would be great to have someone to contact with right now. We're just talking to the art club and we're not experts in murals.
Well, I talked to one person, Anne Hertze. I don't know if you guys are. I was talking to her about this, and so
we would love your contact though. That would be fantastic.
Well, I don't know him personally, but I know he has done murals all over Seattle and in corporate offices. He has even done it in Oregon and California. He lives
Who is it? Who is it?
His social media name is 1000.
1000, yes. Okay, I actually picked up a bunch of his paint. He moved. 1000. He moved to like Minnesota recently, but like I gathered a bunch of his paint and donated it to YTN.
Okay.
They probably still have it if you guys want to contact YTN, see if they still have his mural paint. That's so crazy. Yeah, he's not in Seattle anymore, but I was thinking Henry. If you go into Seattle, you see all the Henry murals. I don't know who that is. I guess.
Yeah, I don't know who that is. Yeah. Okay, so if 1000 has moved, then sorry, that's the only guy I knew.
I love his stuff.
Yeah.
You follow him on Instagram? He's great. Yeah.
Suzanne, do you have a comment or a question?
First of all, thanks to you guys for working on this. I think it's really a great idea, and I think it's really, really exciting. I hope that you guys keep with it. So I think maybe developing the idea a little further. One thought that I had, I love the basketball courts just because I live near that area and I see all the bikers passing. It's visible from the road, and a lot of people come from Seattle to play on those courts. I think it would be a really great way to welcome them to our community, and that would be really meaningful to a lot of people here to you know, reach out and feel good about that. And my thought is, it doesn't have to be like the whole basketball wall. I mean, you can take a stripe of it. So get something that you can manage. And then another kind of playing on Sarah's idea is just developing a banner. I mean, you could go really big on a banner and we could drop it down from the tennis courts all the way to maybe, so nobody would touch it, you know, say 10 feet off the ground or 12 feet off the ground or whatever. So that would be a pretty big banner. And I think if you guys could come up with a amazing design, that could be contracted out. You know, you'd have that design on your computer and then you'd send it to a few banner companies and say, give me a bid, and you could get a really hard number. And I think if you get a really solid message and artwork, I really feel 100% we can get you funding through the community. I mean, I think there's so many people in this community that are hungry to share that your idea. I'm very confident that we can get you the money.
Yeah, and I bet we could find some great
I'll-
artists to collaborate too with this theme. I mean, For Culture could probably find the right artists. I mean,
And that would get it, that would make it, you know, part of your senior graduation. And I think it's something you could feel really, really excited of, is, you know, there it is. Be really fun. It's such a great thing for your class 2021 to say, you know, you didn't get to take, COVID didn't get to take everything away. Look at what we did. So good, congrats. And I hope you keep with it. And I'd be happy to help if I can.
that's
You
awesome.
know, kind of on that idea, Suzanne, like the idea of doing a banner. I know when I talked with the students last week, they were talking about the possibility of like engaging multiple community groups or individuals, and maybe each group has its own kind of panel of the mural or something like that. So you could also think, okay, well, you know, rather than one huge banner, maybe it's like 6 smaller banners installed in different areas around the island. And then you could create kind of a whole like socially distanced program around going to see the pieces and, you know, something like that. So that's something else to consider, like some maybe semi-permanent, something like that, that can also get people moving around the island and engaging in different ways.
And it could be in parts on that location too. You could have
Mhm.
6 different banners in that location, maybe one from each school or whatever, however you wanted to break it down. And I think as I think back, I don't know who owns that wall, if it would be the city or the Department of Transportation. We'd probably have to get permission to put some grommet, you know, drill into the wall and put some grommets in our grommets in our banners, whatever, bolts in our wall. But yeah, I don't know who would look into that, Sarah. That would be a big one right there.
It's me. Yeah.
But let me just make one more pitch. I'm all about big. I am tired of seeing little foxes, little people, little of this, littles of that. Can we just do something big once? Just saying it. I'm done. Put me on mute right now.
I have one thing, Sarah. Yeah, if you need me to find mural artists, I can definitely, I have the network, so I can definitely reach out and ask if someone can help the students and the community to help that. So let me know and I can ask around.
Great.
That would be fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, so maybe, well, if there aren't any other kind of comments or questions, maybe a good next best step. It sounds like both Onomeha and Suzanne are really interested in this project and are happy to kind of help answer other questions or explore other ideas. So maybe after this meeting, I'll kind of do an email intro between the students and the Arts Council members, and you know, we can share ideas and that kind of thing, and you know, just keep exploring what we might be able to do. I can definitely look into some of the city policy related things around. I'm pretty sure the basketball wall is owned by WashDOT, so there would have to be kind of some sort of agreement in that way. But I think that there's, you know, if you're doing a banner project, or at least that is like a first iteration, maybe it still gets to a permanent mural down the road. I think there might be a little more flexibility with the process and actually making something happen this year. Yeah, Erin.
I just wanted to, one last thought is really to reach out to YTN, because they had a BLM mural contest this summer, and I don't think there were any entries. So, or very few entries. Somehow it didn't materialize. So you could sort of revive that interest and collaborate with them as well to get more.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That would, yeah, we can reach out to them. I know a couple people there, and I think probably Gracie and Jacob do as well. So that'd be awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, it was Corey Southwell, I think, that was managing the BLM mural idea. So
thank you.
I don't know about, I think these students are kind of unfamiliar with the idea of a banner project. We're kind of, I like we said, we're not very acquainted with it. So like, what exactly would that entail? Just making a design and then kind of leaving it there and hoping that, you know, that kind of moves out a space that you can use later, or what?
Well, my idea was that you basically developing the design would be just like you would do in a mural, you know, so, and you'd have to decide on your size. So if it's going to be 6 feet wide and 20 feet tall, you know, you would use those proportions. And I don't know if somebody could do their designs on paper or do their designs on the computer, you know, with the design software. So it wouldn't be much different. I mean, once you'd have to get it, once you got it uploaded, then you could send it to places that make large banners and ask them to tell you how much it would cost to have that banner made. And then we'd have to get that banner installed on whatever site that you come up with in the city. So pretty straightforward. If you go the mural route, you know, again, you still have to do your design, your message, you know, your proportions, your ratio, you know, how many squares of each color or whatever. And then that would be transferred onto the concrete wall directly. So either maybe if you're working with an artist, maybe students can help that process, you know, the painting process. I don't know. Usually they use spray cans and it gets a little touchy, you know, it's more professionals do that. But so pretty similar process as far as getting your message, getting collaboration with your high school students, you know, in your group or in the broader community, what your message and what the look is, and getting buy-off on that. And then as far as putting it on a banner, piece of cloth, you know, or putting it on a concrete wall would be your direction that you take off from there.
Mm-hmm. And I'm happy to share as well. You know, I'll get you all, I think I meant to, but did not follow through. So my apologies. I'll get you all some information about kind of past mural projects that we've done. I know we talked a little bit about costs when we met, but we also did a banner project a few years ago. They're street banners, so they're on the street poles that are around town center. So it's different than different size wise and everything, probably a different type of installation, but that'll give you an idea too about kind of what the process would look like to do something like that versus a more like extensive painted on the wall mural.
Amy, I just saw your hand. Sorry. Go ahead.
Thanks. First of all, thank you all for presenting this idea and putting energy toward it. It's fantastic. I agree. It's a fantastic idea. I was only going to suggest to check out Urban Artworks website there in Seattle. That's urbanartworks.org. They do murals, big murals. They'll give you some great ideas on, I think, on different surfaces that can be done, different designs, different palettes, and they have a lot of information about how they work. So it might help the learning process a little bit just to check into them. Again, it's urbanartworks.org.
I wrote it down. Thank you so much. That's helpful.
Great. Well, thank you. Thank you for joining us and presenting this idea. It's really exciting, and we'll be here to help you along the way. So thank you all.
Thank you so much. We'll definitely be in touch.
Thank you.
Okay, I didn't quite actually. Anyways, I think that's good. I went off the script, Sarah. Sorry. Okay, so now we'll move on to a couple of items related to public art. Our fifth agenda item is to discuss the Myval public art donation. Board members, has everyone reviewed the pieces that were presented by Myval? I think so, yeah. Okay, so do we want to have a discussion? Amy, do you have a comment?
Well, just since we discussed this the last meeting a little bit, I think we had a pretty good consensus on Dark Raven as being a favorite, but that may have changed. I checked in with Judith directly, and she seemed to have a very positive response to that choice, if that's what we choose.
Yeah, I agree. I went and saw it in person. When was that? November or December? And
Thursday.
yeah. Similarly, she mentioned that it was a favorite, and I mean, just visually for me, it was striking, and I think the sort of Native American references and historical references of the Raven were interesting, how she explained to me as well. So I definitely have a vote for that one. Do we want to move on to somebody making a motion, or anyone else want to discuss preferences?
I'll make a motion. I didn't hear anyone else having any other request other than the Raven one. So I'd say it was pretty unanimous, and I don't know what we're making a motion about, but to accept that piece and make it part of the permanent collection for Mercer Island.
Okay.
I'll second it.
All right, great. So Suzanne made the motion to accept. Is it called the Raven? I don't remember the title.
Yeah, I think.
By Ron Reeder as into our public art collection, and seconded by Eric. I don't know if we need to discuss any further. So staff, can you please conduct a roll call vote?
Okay, Anu Meha,
Should I just say accept?
yeah, you can say aye, yes, approved, whichever you.
Yeah.
As long as it's an affirmative, yeah. Eric Gordon,
Approved, or yes. Aye.
okay, Shishi Shakes is absent. Suzanne Scone,
Aye.
Galen Vaden is absent. Erin Vivian,
Yes.
and Amy Barnes.
Approve.
Okay. Very
Motion
exciting.
passes unanimously. Congratulations to Ron and Judith and Myval. So I guess staff will now need to determine a final location. Are there any board members who would like to work with staff to help help determine and identify and confirm a location for this to live?
Amy. Yay. Thank you. Okay.
Great. So the final agenda item for regular business is to discuss other public art needs. Sarah will provide the update.
Okay. Okay, so I just wanted to give you all a couple quick updates. you all know that a work of art was stolen from the outdoor gallery, or we assume it was stolen. It's gone missing. So the piece is Counterpoint by Louise McDowell. It was on view in the gallery since around 2006, I believe. And it was for sale, but it was insured by the city. So we're currently working on kind of, if we can't recover it, the claim process to compensate the artist. I've been in contact with Louise, so she knows about it. We're working with a detective at MIPD to track it down. So, we are doing as much as we can. The piece is made of bronze, and as you all probably remember, we had an attempted theft on another work of bronze back in November. So after we were alerted to the disappearance of the work of art, I worked with our parks maintenance team to just go out and do an inventory of all the bronze pieces in parks, basically on view outdoors in the collection. I'm pretty sure Aaron was doing some patrolling as well of some pieces, because we do have quite a bit of bronze pieces in the collection. Some that have actually been messed with in the past. I think Playful Pup has been stolen at least once. So, this isn't the first time by any means. We may start seeing more of an uptick in this. I talked with several of my colleagues in other cities, and they aren't necessarily seeing the same theft issues, but they are seeing an increase in theft or damage to public art. So kind of along the same lines with this, and knowing that we had, several public art related issues last year, I've reached out to ArtSite, who's the conservator that we work with on our public art maintenance and one-off projects, just to do an inventory of the entire collection, just works that are on view outdoors. We haven't really done anything like that for a long time. ArtSite comes in basically every year, and we do sort of a suite of maintenance on works of art. And so we track it that way, but there really hasn't been kind of a comprehensive, someone going out there assessing, doing a condition report basically of each work of art. So we've asked ArtSite to put together a proposal for that. They are able to do it. It would be something that would include, general information, like, believe it or not, maybe you can believe it if you've ever seen our public art records, I don't have size information on all works of art. And, including Counterpoint, the piece that was stolen, we didn't have the dimensions, we kind of had to guess. And so information like that will help fill out our public art records to make sure we at least have all of the basics that we need. And then they'll be doing like I've asked them if they can do sort of a damage assessment, looking at pieces to see if there's any damage beyond kind of normal wear and tear. Works of art that are in the public realm are subject to, more damage than something that's in someone's home or in a museum, obviously. But if there's extra things that have been happening, either because we didn't do routine maintenance last year, or because there are just pieces that were pushed back in the priority list in previous years. And then kind of putting together a priority list around maintenance needs, immediate maintenance needs, and kind of more long-term things. So I'm just waiting on that from them. I just wanted to share that with you all. I know that, it's really sad that work of art disappeared. And if you've been out into the gallery, you may have noticed too that another work of art tipped over during the windstorms. So we are starting to see major impacts on the collection and the works that are for sale in the gallery. And, those are major assets, and they're all insured by the city. They're worth money, so it's sort of one of the most visible things that the Arts Council has, and that we can kind of get behind in terms of bringing arts and culture to the community. So it's definitely time to, from a staff perspective, to try to turn more attention to it, to make sure that we're protecting it and preserving it. So probably at the March meeting, I will come back with updates related to that. I guess my only other request is, if you're out in the parks, roaming around, or you're in town center, there's a lot of public art in town center as well. Just kind of check in on things, encourage your friends, your neighbors to do the same. I think still people don't even really know that there's this robust public art collection owned by the community in the city. So it could be actually a good reverse, it could be an opportunity instead of a challenge, where we start engaging people more and kind of letting them know that the collection's there. So the public art story map is still on the website. You can access that. It has all the locations of works of art. I'm working with our GIS team to kind of do some updates with pieces that now are either stolen or removed because of damage, just so it's updated. But that's a great resource to, check on the collection, see what's out there, and then go out and find it in person. And I think that is about it from me. Let me just check my notes. Oh, one more thing. So in December, I think it was, when we were talking about some other public art projects, we discussed the public art element at the Xinghua proposed development in town center. So an update on that, I connected with the architects, and they are interested in kind of sitting down with a couple members of the Arts Council to reset the conversation. Ideally, it would happen in the next couple of weeks. They have their first public hearing coming up on February 24th, because their documents have been accepted into design review. So it's triggered the kind of public process with all of that. There's still time for the public art element. It's really what they would need is just kind of a general direction. I let them know that, we weren't enthusiastic about necessarily reciting a work of public art, but we want to sit down and talk about what other options are and maybe explore some more creative ideas with them. So I will work on getting that scheduled, but what I would like to know tonight is 1 to 2 Arts Council members who are interested in participating in that conversation. I'll get your availability offline. But yeah, so it would just be kind of a meeting in the next couple of weeks with the architect team. And depending on what the outcomes are from that conversation, maybe some subsequent, check-ins or meetings, research, something like that. And then probably reporting back out to the full Arts Council at a later meeting. So is anybody interested?
I'll volunteer.
Awesome. Thank you, Eric. Okay. Cool. I think that's all I have.
All right, thanks, Sarah. I have a question about the inventory or the assessment that you had, not Parks and Rec, Public Works, that you had them go out and look already. Do you have them look at the inlays and the sidewalks?
They didn't look at the inlays. They were only looking at
Bigger pieces
like 3D, and they specifically only looked at bronze pieces to start. So that is
not bronze. All the sidewalk is bronze, right?
No, yeah. They are. We just left that off the inventory. I think it would be really hard
to pop those
out. Maybe I thought it would be hard to haul off a 500-pound bronze sculpture
in front of all the apartments. I know. I'm thinking, what kind of noise were they making?
Yeah. It's hard because they could have done something, could have happened in broad daylight. There's been a lot of construction in that area. Like Counterpoint is installed basically right on the pathway to where the Sound Transit station is going in right there. And we had other kind of construction related things go on with public art in that area. So I could see someone, a community member maybe thinking like, oh, I wonder what the city is doing now, kind of thing. So that I think is why the public awareness piece of this is going to be really critical. And maybe that's something we can think about in terms of the reset planning and everything like that. Like if an ultimate goal is to protect and preserve the public art collection, what are some of the things we need to do in order to be able to do that.
Yeah, I also don't know, you want to balance the thought with also over publicizing it. You don't want to like put the idea in people's heads, right? That it's happening. So
Yeah.
some considerations.
Yeah.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions? If not, I will move on. Well, okay, I need to remind everyone to report your volunteer hours for January 2021. I don't think that we have been doing that for a year, but you know, if you've been doing anything within the community, I'm sure the city would appreciate that. Sarah sent the reporting document out with the agenda packet on Monday and also included a link to a Google form if you prefer to submit digitally. That's very helpful. Thank you. Is there any other business or any other items anyone wishes to discuss?
Go ahead, Anna.
When are we getting additional members? Because we are like a small team now.
Yeah, I would encourage people to try to recruit. I've asked a couple of people, and I think the way life is right now, people are very hesitant to add more to their plate. At least that's the feedback I've gotten from the people I've asked. But definitely we could use 2 more, right?
Yeah.
So we're a board of 9 normally, right?
Correct.
We only have 7 right now.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
2 vacancies.
Well,
Oh, go ahead, Suzanne.
I was just gonna say, Aaron and I had talked about some of the long-term options, but I did submit my survey to Sarah. So, and I think everyone here is probably gonna submit their surveys, and then you're going to come back to us on the 23rd and probably share some of those ideas and some of your ideas that you and the consultant have kind of thought that might fit in well. So I think I'm gonna just wait. I mean, other than just saying, I think it's a great opportunity to look at our 1% budget and do some planning for that. I don't see any point in leaving money in the bank. I don't think anybody enjoys that or appreciates that. I don't know how, did any of you go to the breakfast this morning? Well, it was amazing. I don't know if it's online, but they had a song and it was called Keep Going On, the Keep Going On song. And it's a COVID song. It's a catchy little tune. And it just really captured the last year in our lives. And I think that song itself could be an inspiration for sort of a COVID type art installation of some kind. Maybe it's something where you push a button somewhere and that song plays. I mean, I just see 20 years from now that I hope to be with my grandchildren saying, yeah, I remember that, you know, I remember that COVID time. And that's what it, you know, it really was just like that. And whether it's an inspiration, you know, inspirational light thing at Luther Burbank docks, or like I say, a button that you push at the Xinhua, you know, plaza. I don't know what it is, but I would encourage us to, if not now, when? You know, when are we going to make that investment? I mean, it's that money's been set aside, and I'd like to see us use it.
Thanks, Suzanne. Yeah, I know. I want to iterate that I think your idea is fabulous, and it's so simple and clear that it just, it's like, of course. I think if we decide that we have the resources and the motivation to pursue a 1% project, I think that the next one, we should strongly consider the next one being some sort of memorial or tribute to the pandemic. I mean, I don't know where else in the region they're thinking of doing this, or if they have, but even modeling something light based off what they did in DC, or some of these ideas are amazing. But I was really moved when you brought that idea up to me, because it's just so clear. Like, that's if we were to do something, it seems like a clear answer.
Hopefully it only happens once every 100 years. Let's just hope.
So thank you.
Thanks.
Dan. Anyone else? Last thoughts, comments, questions? Thank you guys again for joining and taking the time. And I guess our next meeting is the workshop on February 23rd. So get that on your calendars. So if there's no other business to come before the Arts Council, the time is now 8:19 and the meeting is adjourned. However, as a reminder to board members, please stay seated until the city staff has terminated the Zoom broadcast or the seatbelt light is illuminated or deluminated. Good evening, everyone, and stay safe and healthy.